What's up, guys? It's just me getting my workout on, getting my jog in real quick. You know, gotta stay in shape to do what I do. Sort of. Don't make fun of me. Anywho, you know who it is. Zeus Cruz, Olympian Multimedia, giving you another segment of Get Things Done. Did you like that? Nah, I know you didn't. Anywho, in today's segment, we're going to be discussing the Chromebook. And I've been asked several different times about the Chromebook. If it allows you to create music, like you can go ahead and put together some musical production, musical projects. The answer is yes. The answer used to be no. So basically a short time ago, Chromebook did not allow third-party plugins, nor did they allow third-party programs or vendors to be utilized on their interface. And so it was basically whatever apps were included with the Chromebook that you purchased. That's pretty much it. As you can see here, we have a mix pad, we got a MIDI keyboard set up. You weren't even allowed to actually utilize MIDI, the technology behind it. You can't utilize that on the Chromebook. It wouldn't allow it to. It didn't read the signature. It didn't read you inputting anything when you were trying to use it. So the beauty of it now is the more newer versions of Chromebooks. Remember that, the newer versions. So when I say newer versions, I'm looking above 2020 versions, or allowing you to use third-party plugins, and it allows you to input MIDI through different types of equipment. Anything before 2020, it's not going to happen for you, unfortunately. So you're very limited as far as what you was able to do when it came to music. I just wanted to outline a few apps, kind of like my go-to apps, just to give y'all guys a little bit of an idea on how to utilize these things if you're using a Chromebook. Remember, this is what I'm talking about is through an actual Chromebook and not an actual PC, some laptop, or using a MacBook or anything such as that. Their interfaces is a little bit more sophisticated versus with the Chrome OS. Don't get me wrong, I love my Chromebook, love it to death. It's my go-to. I definitely utilize it in more ways than one. But it's definitely, on certain things, it's a little bit limited versus other options that are out there. So let's check it out. If you're looking for something a little bit more in the synth range, a great app to use is actually Rolling Zen Beats. Everything is based off a subscription. It's pretty cheap per month. I believe is anywhere between like $5 and $10 a month. Very in depth to give you them sounds that come off like the different rolling. Get samples from different rolling keyboards throughout the years, such as Phantoms and so forth, or the Junos. But if you're looking for something pretty much not that complex, pretty straightforward, as far as very intuitive, not a lot of overhead to learn, and free, I would suggest Flowtones. It's a great synthesizer. It's basically to simulate it. And then it allows you to use a MIDI keyboard to go ahead and input and manipulate the different sounds. As with anything, you have to go to your settings. And if you notice here on your settings, once you make sure that your channels are correct, you notice the arrows in between. I'm just making sure that everything's in sync. It tells you or gives you a listings of all your inputs. As we see here, we have multiple things lined up. So you just go ahead and press yes. And if you notice, you can go ahead. And you see the synchronization between you playing the keys and the chords going into the app. It's pretty flawless. And then the input of pads along with the keys in order to start comprising your chord arrangement. And then the varying degrees in which you press the pads. So the versatility that you can have between the keys and the pads, it shows up within the application pretty flawlessly, in my opinion. Probably to some other people that you start getting into, or maybe more advanced players, advanced producers, this may not be your cup of tea. You might notice a little bit subtle delays there, here and there. But for the most part, just for this to be utilized within your overall production, you just want to add a layer of synths, maybe use this, maybe not so much to comprise the entire beat, but maybe allow you just to create some different effects for your musical project. This works. And then also too, you have your jog wheels for modulation. And then your pitch shifter. Again, it seems intuitive, not a lot of lag as far as when you're trying to input different things. Also too, it allows you to raise the octaves on the fly. Which is pretty dope. And also too, mostly with any kind of MIDI controller that you're using, it allows you to create banks. On this particular model, I'm utilizing, the Alesis D25, and it allows you to create 4 banks, in which you could do that as well. Whatever type of sounds or textures that you're creating, you can input them into your banks for future use. So it's all integrated pretty well, utilizing the Chromebook. Easy setup. Flow Tunes, I like it because you could be hands-on with it, especially if you have a touchscreen. But it has all the components of any other type of plugin that you're using. It allows you to mix, create different parameters. They even have presets with built-in variations. As you can see, it gives you a basic outline of the wavelength in which you will play in. And again, it's not totally in depth. It's really just meant for you to use it as a template for something greater that you're working on. It's also based into two different vocoder banks. You got 1, and then you got number 2. And then you notice a change in the bandwidth. You can even specify it a little bit more, in which the bandwidth is split. You could come up here and you have a whole inventory of different things that you can use, and it's actually broke down into different instruments, sequences. Again, what I was telling you before, presets. You also have pads, strings. It also has Vox samples as well if you're trying to incorporate some subtle vocals. And then the neat thing is, if you notice on the sides, you can actually break it down into part 1, a part 2, and then you can actually set it up if you just want to create an actual effect, and then you can add your different types of layer effects that you could put on it. And then you can also, last but not least, create it into a sequence for yourself and set your BPMs. You can set as far as the beats. If you want it in a 4, 8 beat, 16 beat, 32 beat sets, you can set that as well. And then the duration between the beats before the beat changes or shifts, you can also set that timing as well on here. So it's simple, but it has a little bit of in-depth to it that you can use. But the point is, you can use a MIDI controller with ease. It's seamless. Another one that you can utilize, and this is a pretty popular one, is BandLab. A BandLab is a full fleshed out DAW that you can use, and it's definitely broken down into pretty much like any other DAWs, where you could create the bass lines, and then you could create drum patterns, you could create the melody, and then you can structure it based off of bars or into a song structure, knowing like a verse, you have a bridge, then the hook, so forth and so forth. You repeat the process. Or again, if you're just trying to make some simple effects or loops. Flow tones is more for like making effects. I would say BandLab is more meant for like if you wanted to create loops for future use. So here we got it set up here where you can utilize the MIDI keyboard. So we're kind of just going to move this to the side. And if you notice, I have a mix pad, older version, but still a goodie. It's the Kai MPD 218. And again, I already have it set up right here. I'm using the dark hip hop drum patterns. And again, it's intuitive. See, it's very seamless. You don't have to press on the pads too much. You're doing too much right now, but it's okay. And then you notice too the integration right here where I can switch the banks, and then I can add some. Where you go, you utilize some hi-hats as well, some snares you can input, and then it's flawless. It's just you could go in between the banks and allow yourself to, you know, try out different things. The beautiful thing about it using BandLab and using your MIDI controller is that, as you notice on the screen, what you see on the screen between like your snares, your kicks, your hi-hats and so forth, it's already integrated into your pads, which is great. A lot of other DAWs, you have to manually input these into each individual pad. And here it's already inputted for you to go ahead and utilize it and start, you know, comprising your beat. And then you have your tuners as well to create different like parameters and so forth that you want to use. Using a multi-port extension here to allow you to input and load up multiple MIDI controllers is always a beautiful thing. Seamlessly to go from pads to using the keys. And you notice I'm using a different application involving this and utilizing the pads. So when you go to record, again, seamless integration, using multiple apps at one time and then just layering out onto your tracks. Obviously that will be on a different window than this, but either way, you're able to integrate all these different things pretty well. And it sounds pretty well as well. Yes. Is there a possibility of some latency issues? Maybe a little bit of lag here and there. I mean, it goes without saying. But for the most part, if you're working on a budget and this is the best you can do, and especially all within your possession is a Chromebook, at least you know that you can utilize a Chromebook and at least start the beginnings of your musical project. And if you want to be more hands-on, We'll drop this down. If you want to be more hands-on and not really utilize too much as far as MIDI is concerned, I recommend Org 24, short for Oregon. They definitely update this every year. I love this app. It's fantastic. Very easy to use, straightforward. You can be hands-on with it. You can input the pads on the fly. Go ahead and add layers to it, where you're starting to comprise your beat a little bit. You have a very intuitive interface. You have your faders that allows you to set your parameters, create that low and that high. Again, it's in simple form, simplified form, but still, you get the gist of it. You can input MIDI and utilize a pedal, a sustain pedal, if you want to get more fancier and have more control over your production. Let me stop this for a sec. That leads me to my next thing. The beautiful thing about it too, it also allows you to utilize MIDI through Bluetooth technology. This particular brand is Korg. It's the Nano Key Studio. I definitely recommend this. It's very easy to use, but it's built off of Bluetooth. And most of the applications that's inputted in Chromebook allows you to use this technology. So that's pretty awesome as well. If you're trying to get away from like all the chords can be a little bit too much, I know. So if you're looking for another alternative, here you go. You could go Bluetooth style. How about that? Beautiful. And just the last but not least, when it comes to this application, you look up top. Again, everything's just hands-on, right at your fingertips. You could come right up here. You could, on the fly, create different effects. Again, you have your tuners here where you can elevate and create more depth, more balance, more velocity, change the pitches, so forth and so on. You can even play in live form using this. So if you're performing live, this is actually structured for you to utilize this app through your MIDI to play live. And then you can also create your own presets. It has banks on here as well, so that it could be quick access to your music. You could break it down like you notice here. Similar to a standard keyboard, you have your intros, you create your variations, you have your fill-ins, and then you have your ending, outro, whatever. And then the beautiful thing about this is too, last but not least, you have your drums, which is like pretty awesome. And it's set up just the same way with your snares, your kicks, your hi-hats. And it's pretty awesome. Again, you could create something simple and then use this as your template to build on and continue to build until you complete your musical project. So that's about it. That's what I wanted to show you guys, is the fact of just giving you another alternative if you don't have a whole full studio setup and you happen to have a Chromebook. Yes, now remember, 2020 models and forward, if you have a Chromebook, it's allowing you now to go ahead and create music, and then in turn, whatever you work off here, again, that could be just your beginning, and then you can move into a bigger DAW and then go ahead and start fleshing out your beat. So I hope this was helpful. That's pretty much it, what I got to say. I just want to encourage you. Encourage you guys. Don't let nothing stop you. There is more than one way to get to your destinations, more than one way to do something. Just you owe it to yourself, basically, to do the research, put the work in, and definitely the rewards will come. All right, so that's about it. Appreciate you tuning in. I guess the only thing left to say is boop, 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 boop. Let me go boop, 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 boop. Okay, that was weak. Is get things done. I'll check you later.